Living a race when my boyfriend of 2 years, Liam, asked me to move in with him. I was overjoyed. We had been going steady for a year now, and we were inseparable. You could never find one of us without the other. We had met at a party a year before. We had hit it off because we liked the same kind of video games. As gamers, our mutual hobby piqued my interest, and we kept in contact, getting to know each other better. The more I got to know him, the more I became attracted to him. He was smart, kind, and interesting. But it wasn't just that. When I had to get a date for my cousin, Danny's wedding to his long-term boyfriend, Charlie, I asked him. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I didn't think it through. I just knew I didn't want to have to ask my best friend, Lisa, to be my date at the wedding again. So I asked him. He and I had joked about how we were jumping the gun by going to the wedding on the first date. He was such a comedic genius. I could have spent hours talking to him and laughing my head off at everything he said. This wasn't just out of politeness. He genuinely was funny. I could see why I wanted to be a writer. He had brilliant material. At the wedding, we got along really well. You know how it's like to be with someone and have the conversation just flow without having to make any extra effort? Well, that was how it felt like to be around him. He was light and airy, which was what drew us so closely together. After I got home, he texted me to tell me that if I ever needed a date for a wedding again, he was always available. After that day, we went on several more dates, which went very well. We started building a strong connection, and as they say, the rest was history. We started dating exclusively, and that was the best year of both of our lives. Between our busy schedules, we made time to go out or even stay inside and watch some Netflix. The great part of our relationship was that our families were very supportive. His mother would always make me brownies when I came over, which was why I never left her house. Liam always joked that I was her second son whom she loved more. My parents loved Liam so much, they both called him a comedic genius. On Sundays, he would join us for lunch, where we would reflect on the past week and manifest what we wanted to happen in the following week. Our lives were pretty much intertwined, and it was the perfect relationship. Of course, we didn't always agree, but we had a healthy way of communicating. Whenever we argued over something, we would write letters to each other, discussing our feelings until we resolved the matter. When he suggested that we get our own space and move in together, I was over the moon. I imagined that staying together was going to be so much fun. I could already see us snuggled up in bed after a busy day at work. We got a small studio apartment, not far from his mom's house. She knew the owner, so she had gotten us a good deal on the apartment. It had one bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. It wasn't much, but we fell in love with it. We put together our savings and bought some furniture for it. We found a cute zebra print sofa at the local thrift store, and my mom gave us a carpet and some utensils. Liam's mom gave us pots and pans, as well as bed sheets. We then painted the walls and hung up posters, including quotes from some of Liam's writings and art that I had painted. Soon it looked very artsy, but not lived in. As we hadn't moved in yet, we made arrangements, and our stuff was soon in the apartment. Entering our apartment while holding his hand was the best thing ever. It felt really nice to be in our own home. The first thing we did was unpack all of our things. Most of us had our junk. He had his books and a typewriter, while I had my art supplies and gaming equipment. It was a tight squeeze, but everything somehow fit into our house. After that, we collapsed on our bed, exhausted. You know, we have yet to bless this house, he said. I looked beside me and locked eyes with him. His eyes were shining with mischief, and he looked like he was about to pull something off. What are you suggesting, dear Liam? I smirked. He knew perfectly well what I meant, and he made sure I knew when we made love in every room in the apartment. He was just so naughty and passionate, and that's what kept the spark in our relationship. I would have hated to be one of those couples who stopped trying to spice things up once they were comfortable in their relationship. Of course, things got a bit boring here and there, but we usually had a date night to reignite the spark in our relationship. Not just ordinary date nights, because where's the fun in that? We went to Comic Cons, haunted houses, quiet little bookshops, and so many other places. We both understood each other's thirst for adventure. Living together was going to be our biggest adventure ever. I couldn't wait to wake up to him every morning, hopefully forever. The next few days were exciting yet nerve-wracking. I loved waking up with his curly hair on my face, though I would never admit that to him. At first, I was nervous about him seeing me in the morning, looking like a mess, but he and I both got over that when we saw each other's morning hair. He had laughed at my hair and called it a pineapple. I had laughed and told him that he looked like a hedgehog. We had then proceeded to roll over the bed in laughter. From then on, we got very comfortable with seeing each other in the morning. He got up early for work first. He would shower while I listened to the soothing sound of the shower, running in the bathroom as I got a few more hours of sleep. Some days we had time to make breakfast, or rather he made breakfast after I had burnt our bacon and eggs. He had banned me from the kitchen, but I didn't mind watching him cook. There was something about a man in an apron. Sometimes he gave my eyes an extra treat when he didn't wear a shirt. I would gaze at him as he concentrated on the measurements or stirred a pot. He was an amazing cook, which his mother took credit for. He always made the most appetizing food. Whenever he cooked, it was husband material for sure. After breakfast, we would finish getting ready and go to our respective jobs. I was an intern at a local publication, and he was a waiter at a cafe. I liked my job because most of the customers were friendly, and the tips were very good. He usually got busy around mealtime. After work, we would return to our home, but who would be cooking dinner would depend on who got home first. Sometimes I brought leftovers from the cafe. It wasn't mine because he loved pastries. His mom had made a lot of them for him growing up, and he was an expert at making them. We would then have dinner while watching a movie. Afterward, he would go to write his novel and I would go paint or game a bit. Soon it became monotonous. Yes, we became one of those comfortable couples who were so used to seeing each other every day that we stopped planning special days. Even our intimacy decreased because we would be so focused on our respective crafts in the evening. We also faced the challenges that most roommates faced. We could constantly be fighting because someone left the toothpaste cap off, or someone had forgotten to mop the bathroom. The worst part was that we were both sloths. Both of us didn't like cleaning because we were guys and our moms had spoiled us when we were younger. It wasn't uncommon to find 3 days' worth of dishes in the sink. Both of us could see that we needed to do something that would improve the situation. The current arrangement wasn't working. We were annoying each other half the time, and we weren't even making an effort anymore. I thought that living together would be like having one huge sleepover, but it turned out that I missed the mark. The other thing that had contributed to the rut we had fallen into was our jobs. It was the holiday season, so we were at work most of the time. We would get back home, order takeaways, and go off to bed, only to do it all again the next day. One day during my break, I was talking to my best friend Lisa about the situation. She was the one person I trusted to give me genuine advice. We had just gone to lunch and were talking about anything and everything. "So how's the marriage treating you?" She grinned. "We're not married," I protested. "Calm down, Rudolph. You're so red right now." What I meant to ask was how living together with your bae is treating you. Well, in the beginning, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. Now we're like an old married couple. Even an old married couple has a spicy bedroom life. We're just gonna work and coming back home to sleep. It's been so monotonous. I get what you mean, but in all fairness, it has been a busy past few weeks. Are you having regrets about moving in together? She asked. No, of course not. I like living with him and being able to see him every day, I said. I think I know what the problem is. You see each other every day, so you don't see the need to plan a date, and you could just have dinner at home and save yourself a trip. What you need to do is forget that you were roommates once in a while. Treat each other like you did when you were first together. Tell me, when was the last time you were out of the house? She asked. Well, every day I go to work. I shrugged. That's not what I mean. When was the last time you went out for a day, like a proper date somewhere that isn't work? That's been a while, I admitted. That is the thing. You need to go out somewhere that isn't work. You two should go out for a day, she advised. I could see the logic behind what she was saying. We needed to take a day off from working so much and spend it together. We needed to give each other our full, undivided attention. I hadn't fallen out of love with him. I had just stopped trying to make our relationship spicy. I missed the thrill we got when we had fun together. I wish that I could bottle it up sometimes. Suddenly, I got a brilliant idea. The next morning, as his alarm rang, I held on to his hand to prevent him from leaving the bed. Cute, babe. But I have to go to work. He chuckled. Call in sick, please, I said, looking into his hazel eyes. He opened his mouth to protest, but he suddenly thought better of it. Okay, but just this once. I am tired. I could do with a day in bed, he mused. Nope, mister. You and I are going out, I announced. His eyes widened, and his mouth formed into an OA as he realized why I had asked him to call in sick. I thought that since we haven't gone out in a while, we could spend the day together, I said, leaning over to kiss his cheek. He had a light stubble because he hadn't shaved yet, and his lips slowly formed into a smile. I guess a day out wouldn't hurt. We have been boring lately. If I stare at these four walls much longer, I'm going to barf, he said with a chuckle. That's over-exaggeration, I laughed. Well then let's get ready and get out of here before you barf from the artwork on the walls. So that's what we did. We took a shower together to save time and got dressed. We wore our matching black and white outfits with our Vans shoes. We looked cute enough to eat. We snapped a few pictures, which we posted on social media, and we were on our way. We were super hungry, so we went to get some breakfast. We had pancakes and lattes, where we chatted up a storm. It had been a while since we had really spoken, and I had missed it. He had me in stitches the whole time we were there. Afterwards, I took him to a cat library. This was a library where you got cats instead of books. We got a ginger tabby, which we petted for a while. It was the cutest cat ever. We were there for a while petting the cat and conversing. It felt so amazing to be on an adventure with him again. The feeling was so exhilarating. I couldn't believe that I'd forgotten how it felt to be alive. I cannot believe that I'd forgotten how it felt to be alive. Our second to last destination was bungee jumping. It had been nearly impossible to arrange it so last minute, but I had made a few calls, and here we were. I wanted to get our blood pumping one more time. One thing I knew about him was that he was an adrenaline junkie, like me, and he was always chasing that next thrill. "Wow, you really pulled out all the stops today," I said, leaning in to kiss him. It was a light kiss, but it got my blood pumping. For a second, I was suspended in a state of bliss as he kissed me. A worker came over to help us strap in, and I felt my stomach tingle as I imagined how it was going to feel. I had done a lot of things. I had ridden motorcycles, been in a shark cage, been skiing, and done just about any extreme sport you could name. The only place that remained untouched was the skies. I was nervous about conquering the skies and started shaking. Suddenly, a hand slipped into mine, and I calmed down at once. I looked at his familiar eyes, and everything was okay. I knew that he would never let anything happen to me. "I've got you, my love." I smiled. "I've got you," he replied. I was the first to go. I walked up to the starting point and stood there as the straps were attached so that I could be tethered to a solid place. "Ready?" the instructor asked. Then I was falling. A lot of things happened all at once. I felt my body falling, my stomach dropping, and my ears ringing. Then I felt it, the sense of freedom and flying. I would never know, but I believe that this is what birds felt like. I was one with the air, and I was the lord of the skies. After a while, I felt myself land on a soft spot on the ground. A man who was waiting for me at the bottom helped me to unzip and unwind all the gear I had on. Next was Liam. I saw him falling, and he was instantly screaming. I felt my heart tense up as he was swinging in the air. Then musical laughter drifted down to my ears. He was laughing. He was feeling what I had just been feeling a few seconds ago. We had finally conquered the skies. That moment was symbolic because we had taken a leap of faith in our love, and it was stronger than ever. He landed on the ground a few seconds later, and I rushed to him. Once he was free from the gear, he embraced me, his heart pounding just like mine. I felt fire in my veins. We could have exploded like a pair of supernovas at that moment, and I wouldn't have minded. I was with the man who made my heart sing, and nothing would ever beat that feeling. We made each other feel alive, and that was something I'd never felt before. After the bungee jumping, we went to a small Italian restaurant where we had dinner. We talked nonstop about the amazing day that we had just had. After dinner, we went back home, where we finally burned the sheets. We had been feeling so much desire throughout the day, and it all came unraveled that night. From that day on, we made sure that we got out of the apartment at least 3 times a month, even if it was just for a walk or a quick coffee. We were 2 restless souls who found inertia in each other, and we wouldn't let that go easily. The end.